What is up, everybody? Welcome to episode 65, Heating Up of the Sports Hour Plus with Miller and Watson. It's been a little while. I'm a mom now. Kylan's doing big interviews. Life is good. Life is good. So I'm going to preface this by I am home alone with 2 dogs and a baby. So inevitably, somebody's going to cry. I got the bottle ready for if Madison wakes up. We got our watchdogs on, but I am so excited to be back. Thank you, Kylan. Thank you. It's been crazy and fun, and I've gotten to watch a lot of sports, which has been really great. She was born on selection Sunday for the NCAA tournament, so she spent the first 2 weeks of her life pretty much exclusively watching basketball. Which was great. Got to watch the Masters with her, see Rory win, who's my favorite golfer. So it's been fun. It's been good. Ready to kind of dive back into sports world a little bit, dive back into work a little bit. So we're taking it easy. And apologies, we were supposed to be back on Friday. And then the baby had a meltdown about who knows what because she's 8 weeks old. But it's been fun. It's been crazy. Kylan, how have you been?
Oh, life is good. As you alluded to, in those months that we've been off, big things have been happening in the Tribune world. We were supposed to do this Thursday, but we caught a big interview, so we couldn't do it Thursday. Morgan was very gracious with that. Then Friday, Madison decided she wanted to have a guest starring role. She couldn't let me
Yeah,
have all the
she did. Yeah, she didn't want mom to be gone. She wanted
yeah,
mom to
yeah,
hold her. So she's asleep in her little swing right now. So I hope that she'll stay asleep for the next hour or so.
yeah,
But
yeah.
she probably
But it's
won't.
been good. It's been good, man. Life's been good. Everything's picking up. Sports is picking up. We're
Yeah.
back. So you guys got your wish. Y'all been asking both of us. We're back now. Hopefully for a while. Good hiatus. Good time for
Yeah.
Morgan to rest and get up. Obviously, having a child is a lot. I don't know. I
Yeah.
don't go. Haven't gone through it yet, but I don't have to do that 8 or 9 months of carrying. So, but we're happy to see her back. She's back now.
I can have
Hopefully,
coffee again. I'm sleeping ish. Madison slept about 7 hours the last couple nights, so life's been good. But
good,
let's do
good,
it.
good.
Should we dive into some Giannis talk? Well, first
Hold
of all, you
on.
got to follow us on our socials. I probably need to change mine at some point to represent my new last name, but follow me at M_India_Miller and Kylan at Kylan W. Watson. Kylan has all of his Tribune articles tweeted out. He's pretty active on there during the days of big games, especially for NBA. So if you're looking for some hot takes, give him a follow. I'm a little bit more sporadic about tweeting, but I get on there, I fire off some takes, and I get angry or excited. So pretty much know if the Giants do anything good, UConn does anything good, head to my Twitter. You'll see, or the Caps. Big game 4 tonight for them in the second series. So against Carolina. So I know all of you avid hockey fans out there.
And there you go. That's why they miss you. You bring in the hockey
Yeah,
stuff.
I mean,
That
and
that
we didn't even.
doesn't
I
matter.
wasn't even here when Ovi passed Gretzky for the most goals. So hockey's been good. Hockey's good. So let's go. Let's go talk Giannis. Let's talk if he is going to be staying in Milwaukee or leaving.
Yeah, big news this morning. I mean, yeah, Shams is reporting that Giannis is open to exploring his options when it comes to staying in Milwaukee or leaving. And this is crazy, man, because it's getting crazy in the NBA. As we all know, this is a time where obviously playoffs happen. We'll get into whether this is the best playoffs ever or not. I always think the NBA playoffs are good, but this year has been exceptionally exciting for those of you that are fans of competitive games. I mean, they're
Or
always
big
competitive. Playoffs,
comebacks and
yeah, big comebacks that shouldn't be happening, especially in that Boston New York series. Yeah. If you're a big fan of improbable comebacks,
so
that's your series.
Kylan, I have a question for you. And you know that I don't follow the NBA as closely as you do.
Right?
In the NFL or some of the other leagues there are players that seem to be like staples. They get drafted to a team and they make it a point, or the team makes it a point to keep them there for the length of their career. They become the face of the franchise.
Mm-hmm.
Do you see that? When did you see that kind of breaking down in the NBA? Was it kind of when LeBron left Cleveland for the first time? Was that like the kind of start of it, or like where do you see it? Because this year has been interesting with the Luka trade. You have these big players that are synonymous with their town or cities leaving to go or shopping around to go other places. And, you know, I know a lot of it has to do with money, obviously, and contracts and things like that. But when did you see that shift? And do you see that ever going back to players wanting to or staying to be that star player in that team, that community?
Yeah, well, I think it happened a lot longer ago than that. I think it happened when you and I were teenagers, when the Lakers chose between Shaq and Kobe, and they chose Kobe. I think that's when a lot of this started breaking out, because before that, other than Michael Jordan going to DC, you didn't really see this a lot, right? A lot of this happened when you and I were kids in our millennial era. It happened a lot during free agency or trades after somebody was like in their 30s and they left, right? The staples were like Tim Duncan, because Caribbean boy, he wasn't going anywhere. So like, you know, he was happy. He had his 5 rings. You know, it was way more like you and I, we grew up in the dynastic sports era, right? You had the Yankees always winning in our era, the Lakers trading dynasties, the Patriots, Rams. We had a lot of dynasties when we were kids, right? So having those dynasties in each of the 4 respective sports. For you hockey fans, it was the Detroit Red Wings. We all remember that in the late 90s, early 2000s. But if you were not in one of those dynastic eras, this is kind of what it's been in the NBA since then. So really, I mean, this new era, right, with Shaq and LeBron really turned it up to 1,000. But really, what it really has always been, as you and I talk about all the time with the NFL, I playfully say the NFL stands for not for long. And you can kind of translate that to whatever sport you want to, because a lot of this is not anything more than just, you know, I'm looking around like anybody would. And for Giannis, I got my 1 ring, but I want to stay here. But I mean, Dame has a blood clot. He miraculously had his Wolverine blood come through, and then he broke his Achilles. There is no future there, for real. It's not like all of a sudden the Bucks with him are going to suck and get like a number 1 pick. So, I mean, you kind of have to look around and say, I need to go somewhere else. With the Luka trade, as we alluded to, and it's coming out more and more now. See, this is this new era now, because you have these cheapo owners who buy this stuff. I'm sorry to call y'all's favorite billionaires cheap, but they are. You know, you have these cheapo owners who get these NBA franchises, pay billions of dollars for them, and then be like, I don't think I need Luka. I'm the Mavericks are bigger than Luka. I don't want to pay him 5 years, $500 million. I don't want to be the person to pay the first $500 million NBA contract. So I'll send them to the Lakers because I'm dumb. That's what this is now.
Yeah.
Now this is Giannis. He's about to be a free agent. You remember about this time last year where all y'all thought it was Embiid, and I told y'all it was Luka and Giannis. And look who's right. Like, you know, this is what it is now. Like these are big time superstars in small markets. No disrespect to Milwaukee and Dallas, but in comparison to Philadelphia, the New Yorks, the LAs of the world, relatively small markets. And these players, they want a chance to win. And, you know, I don't think Giannis is going to the Lakers. But I think
I was going to say, so let's move into that. So as we have our Nostradamus, Kylan here, where do you... Where do you think Giannis will end up?
So, I mean, it flew under the radar last week, but for those people who weren't paying attention to it, there's rumors that the Celtics, if they don't get far, whether that's this series or the next series, right, that they could blow it up, right? Obviously, Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown are safe, but they could blow it up and randomly have cap space. And people were like, well, what are they doing? What is this? Is this Kevin Durant? No, it was Giannis. That's what this is. You know, it's Giannis, it's Kevin Durant, it's these teams now thinking about, you know, these Celtics now have a new ownership group, and they're thinking, hey, well, you know, I don't need Kristaps anymore. I don't need Drew Holiday. and I can do that. A lot of y'all probably didn't see that, but the Celtics are probably going to make a move for Giannis and KD. I can see it. Both of them will end up on the East Coast. Now, will KD come back home and make Morgan and everybody else's DMV dreams come true? Probably not. But I think that
you don't want to play for the Wizards? Wow, crazy.
I mean, he said that if he ever came home, his career is over. So he might do the Jordan. so I mean, to play, I should say. I believe he comes home. You would know that it'd be every summer, right? Like he's around, right?
Probably. But, I'm not. I'm unfortunately not in DC anymore. So
right. But I mean, he probably comes around. But I think the Celtics. I could see the Clippers if they can make another big time move as far as the West Coast. But I definitely see like Celtics, Nets, let's see, Celtics, Nets. I'm trying to think of somebody else. The Cavs, maybe. I don't know. He likes that Midwest big time feel, but I definitely think it'll either be the Celtics, the Nets, the Rockets could be too. I kind of think he's going to stay in the East. I feel like Kevin Durant is coming. This isn't about KD, but I feel like this is what it is, y'all. This is the new NBA now. It is either the free agents the big time superstars will leave, or the cheapo owners will force them to leave. So because they don't want to pay them. So this is the new NBA. This is the new NFL. This is the new NHL. This is what we're seeing now. These cheapo owners buying these franchises and being like, "Nah, I don't want to pay you. I'm good."
So we're going to move on a little bit. So speaking of somebody else who wants to be in the news and find some fame, those of you who don't know, according to Pablo Torre, UNC has banned Jordan Hudson from the UNC football facility. For those of you who don't know who Jordan is, she is Bill Belichick's 24-year-old girlfriend. They met on a plane where she was doing her philosophy homework, and Bill Belichick looked over and they started talking philosophy and now are dating. She's not only his girlfriend, she's his publicist. She's running part of the Belichick Foundation. She's buying real estate for him.
She may or may not be in his will, because I know the other report about this not being reported from Pablo is that his kids are very worried.
I was just going to get there. Yeah, there's been some posts on Instagram that his children have commented on and made some cryptic, I guess you could say, comments. So it's very interesting. There was an article. Was it CBS Morning?
Yeah. It was 60
Morning
Minutes, because he had an interview and they were upset because she was blowing up the question or whatever, I think, right?
Yeah.
Somebody asked how they met.
It's an interesting situation that's going on, and there's been rumors that she was banned. UNC then came out and said that she wasn't banned, but a lot of people think that was more of them just trying to stay out of the headlines and stay out of this kind of mess. It's a weird situation. I mean, originally she was going to be allowed on the sidelines during the game, which I don't know in what capacity a publicist for the head coach would need to be on the sidelines during the game.
Bill Belichick needs his motivation, man. He needs to see his sugar honey iced tea, man. He gotta see his baby. Oh man. You wanna take this first?
Yeah, I just don't understand. I don't know. I don't get it. For me, I mean, it even stems down to, and again, I don't like to judge other people's life choices. It's completely fine. But I was saying, like, as a 30-year-old, I wouldn't want to date a 25-year-old. Like, I'm such a different person now when I'm 30 than I was when I was 25. I can't imagine being 25 and dating, or 24 and dating a 72-year-old. Again, no judgment. I hope that they're happy. I hope that this isn't just because of the money and the fame. But it's It's interesting. And I think a big part of it that I think is interesting too is that in these interviews, Bill Belichick doesn't seem to understand how people know so much about their relationship. And it seems like he doesn't know what Jordan is posting on social media. In that interview we were talking about where Jordan kept interrupting, Bill seemed very confused as to how the reporter knew about those yoga pictures on the beach. He was like, how did you know? Where did you find those? How did you know them? And the reporter's like, they're on Jordan's Instagram. Like, she posted them on her Instagram, her public Instagram. So it's an interesting situation. I don't, it's one of those things where it's like, have some common sense. I don't know why they felt the need to ban her from the football facility. There's no reason that she should need to be in or around the football facility to begin with. She's not a coach. She's not a player. I don't know. It's I hope that Bill is okay and that it's not and that she's okay and that it's not like there's nothing weird going on. That I genuinely hope it's two people that love each other and there's nothing else going on. But it's hard not to feel like there's something else going on. But I don't know. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I think the UNC part of this is now there. We should say, I'm always, y'all know, those of you that watch the show, y'all know I'm always against the PR BS that these colleges put out. But in this case, like I told Morgan off air, I feel like what this was UNC thought they could silently ban Jordan Hudson, off the strength of that 60 Minutes interview, and no one would say anything because it's UNC football. And let's be real, up until Bill Belichick came and took the job, no one really cared about UNC football outside of UNC students, alums, and anybody associated with the UNC football program. I want to be respectful to y'all. But, I mean, they thought that they could do that, and then Pablo Torre, being the great journalist that he is, had a source reach out to him. He was able to confirm it, and, it got out. Then I think what happened here is UNC had to do damage control because it came Friday morning, and I don't think they ever thought that would get out. I have no sourcing with the UNC PR office or athletics office, so I want to be clear that this is just a thought.
You know what, Kylan? It also could have just been the AD or somebody was like, hey, there's a lot going on right now. Jordan, like, why don't you just chill and not come into the facility for a little bit? It could have been as simple as that. It could have been, she's not banned. There's no decree. There's no paperwork, whatever. She's not like given being like served by the police, but they're just like, let's chill. Let's not have you be around the football facility right now so we can just focus on football and not the other stuff. And
go focus
somebody
on your
ran with it and told Pablo she's banned. Words are very important. And sometimes when stories get passed down by word of mouth, people can say different things.
Right. You're right. You're right. It could have been something as easy as that, or something like they had a representative say, hey, Bill, like, just have her focus on her master's program. Mm-hmm. Y'all can take pictures, whatever. Just don't let her be in the football facility. Now, the other half of this is that if I remember correctly, the last time we talked about UNC, there was a Hard Knocks thing. And the other rumor of this is that she annoyed, which could have been why she's shadow banned, we'll say, to be fair to her, is that from what we understand, what happened with 60 Minutes, this is all based on different sources coming out of UNC from Pablo Torre and others who have said that this is not the first time that she has blown up interviews that Bill has had and made the school and him look bad, because apparently this happened when Hard Knocks was on campus, I guess, a month or two ago. I don't know anybody that works on that film crew. Morgan might, but like, I don't, but that's the rumors that we heard. And this might also be why UNC has shadow banned or told her to take a break, whatever you want to say. Right. And what I think this is just somebody who's very, very young. This is what happens. Now, I've never dated it. How old is Bill Belichick? 75? I've never dated
70, in his 70s.
Yeah. I've never dated a 70-year-old, but I think this is what happens when you have, some people may say that was a weird way to meet on a plane, randomly doing homework. Some people have questioned that that's where it is, because there are people that know how Bill Belichick gets down. I don't want to throw any mentions on Bill Belichick or anything because I don't know specifically, but there are people saying that that's not the real story of how they met.
Yes, I have heard that. I have heard that as well.
That's what Morgan is alluding to when she talks about how his kids have been basically on Instagram, basically saying there's more to the story, and basically alluding to the fact that he may or may not have written them out of the will.
So nothing has been explicitly said. Nobody has come on and been like, this is what happened, but there's been a lot of comments on Instagram posts that are deleted, but the Instagram sleuths are better than the FBI and will screenshot anything within seconds. So we'll keep you updated on this story for sure. I'm sure there will be more, especially as the college football season gets closer. We'll see. I hope it doesn't ruin Belichick's legacy. But.
Yeah. But I mean, if I could, before we move on, I could just give Miss Hudson's a word of advice. You are dating one of the most high-profile college football coaches and football coaches ever, like the GOAT football coach currently. Chill out a little bit. Like, do your pictures, do everything else, but that's your, for lack of a better term, right? I feel like you had a career. People said you were an Instagram model, whatever you were before this, right? You're with somebody who football is his god, and he's old. He's 73. Seems like he may or may not just be having, like, if it's not football, it doesn't matter now that they're in the preseason now for football. So, just chill. I don't like to tell women how to behave, but in this case, you might need to chill. Like tomorrow, we should find out a lot more because there's a GMA interview. We will see what happens when Michael Strahan and Bill Belichick get together. I know Morgan loves that because it's a former Giant interviewing him, and he can remind him how he took a ring from him.
I was gonna say, was he was on what? Was he on the first? He wasn't on both teams, on just the first one, right?
Yeah, because he retired right after the first one.
I think so. Yeah, what's up, RC? Good to see you. So, Lou. All right, so we're going to move on to staying in football, but heading to the pros. Pittsburgh Steelers trade George Pickens to the Dallas Cowboys. This broke on Thursday?
Friday, Thursday. I think it was Thursday morning or afternoon, one of them.
So this is an interesting, I've been listening to some people talk about this, and,
what's up, RC, too? Sorry,
Tom, if you're a Cowboys fan, are you a little nervous? Because there are certain coaches in the league, Bill Belichick actually also being one of them as well, who's pretty good at evaluating talent and letting them go kind of right around when they should be let go. And, George Pickens is obviously still very young and still very talented, but there's been rumors about his ability to, I guess, get along with other people, being a locker room cancer, as some people would say. So, I mean, I think it's a great asset for the Dallas Cowboys to have, along with their other receivers. Thank you, RC. Don't you worry. They are the last thing on our docket today. Kylan's giving me a little chance to brag, so don't you worry. But it's good for him. I guess he, moves to a bigger market. I know Kylan and I are not thrilled to have him in
the division,
in our division. Kylan was saying you were supposed to trade him to Los Angeles, not to somebody in the NFC East. But I said this, I'm not Dak's. If there's no haters on Dak left in the world, then I'm dead. Put it that way. I just have little faith in him, and maybe he'll prove me wrong with Pickens this year. But yeah, I don't know. How do you feel about it?
I think it's a great trade for Dallas. They needed that other receiver next to CeeDee Lamb, and George Pickens could definitely be a number 2 or a number 1. I don't know how they're going to pay him and Mekhi and all them, but I think this is a good prove-it year for him. I think George Pickens is a great player. I've definitely admired him from afar, playing 6 hours away in Pittsburgh. But I kind of think that this CeeDee Lamb is going to get a majority of these targets. I don't know if George Pickens is going to play the second fiddle to CeeDee Lamb.
I think that's going to be the biggest problem, and I wonder if that was a conversation that they had beforehand. Because, I mean, I don't think anybody would take George Pickens over CeeDee Lamb. I wouldn't. Especially somebody who knows the offense already and doesn't have to relearn it. Even if everything was equal, I still would take CeeDee Lamb. But, the other flip side of that, I guess, that maybe Pickens is thinking is because if they're both on the field at the same time, they'll double team CeeDee and leave him open, and he thinks he might be able to get more catches off of that. I don't know. But I agree with you. I think it's going to be a disaster when CeeDee is obviously wide receiver 1 and he's wide receiver 2, and most of CeeDee's always going to be the first look. So, is he going to handle that well? We've seen him not handle that exceptionally well before. But so RC says, I'd rather have Matthew Golden in the draft as a Cowboys fan. George Pickens ain't moving too many needles, in my humble opinion. Could I be wrong? That's kind of, yeah. I mean, I think that's kind of what we're saying. And, you take Pickens as a player, which is good, and then you put his attitude issues on top of that, and I think it brings it down enough for me that I would just be like, I don't know if it's worth it.
Well, look, I'll say this, to be fair to the Cowboys, right? They got a weapon. They've added to their arsenal. They definitely look a lot more potent offensively than they did last year. Now, do I think that that'll equal? I don't think that'll be better than third place in the NFC East. Maybe a marginal card. I mean, even the Giants look good on paper now. We'll get to them in the draft because they had a really great draft. Even though I hated the fact that they got Abdul Carter, even though I kind of thought they would get Abdul Carter.
What would you have done with him? You guys don't have room for him on your defense is too good. You do not need him. Where would you have? He would have been like the 10th string.
Well, look, man, I can't wait. Look, Look, I didn't say I didn't want him there. I just said
you wanted him just not in the NFC East again. Yeah, that's what you wanted him like on the Bengals or something.
Yeah. I mean, it didn't matter. It didn't matter, but I think that you guys look great.
I thought we looked great last year on paper too, though. So
we'll get to y'all. We'll get to y'all in a minute. But as far as for Pickens, I just think that the comments are just rolling in, man. I just think that boy Kai over here, good trade but bad attitude. The Cowgirls being more percent. The attitude just is going to be bigger than talent. I think the league needs this so the Cowboys could be back. Yeah, like I said, I think this is great. Shout out to Kyle. I think this is great for the Cowboys. They have weapons. Dak has no excuses now. Just a little suspect on the running back part of it. But, for Cowboys fans, it looks great as long as you don't have to run the ball and people leave George Pickens wide open and forget who he is. It might be great. But this is leading into the next question.
Say, Kyle, yeah, it's a great transition to the next topic, which is, does adding Pickens make the Cowboys a contender in the NFC? What I think is interesting about the NFC is I truly believe that almost any of these teams could go off at any point. There have been a lot of years where it was the NFC, trash bucket, whatever it is that you want to call it. The NFC East is back, I think. You look at the NFC East champion or the NFC Championship, right? Mm-hmm. You have the Commanders going far. You have the Eagles winning the Super Bowl. Great. Congratulations. You
Don't be
have
mad. Don't hate. Don't hate.
you have the Giants, who we will talk about, who did. They had a great draft. They look pretty good on paper. They have a million different options at quarterback. So the Cowboys were the only one that I think was a little bit of a question. And I think that if they can figure out that the run pass option, figure out who their running back is going to be, kind of being able to block for whoever their running back is going to be. And now they have these two options at wide receiver. I think they can be a contender. Like I said, I don't believe in Dak. I still think that they're going to have a really hard time getting past, at least on the Giants defense, the Eagles defense. I don't think their offense is as good as the Commanders or the Eagles offense. Giants offense is TBD. We are not, I don't even know who our quarterback is going to be. So I think they still could be the worst team in the NFC East, but that also doesn't mean being the worst team in the NFC East doesn't mean that you're a bad team anymore, if that makes sense.
Unless you're legitimately bad. But
unless you're legitimately bad. Yeah.
On my end, I think that this makes them, I don't think it really changes for me. Like for me, it was always Eagles, Lions. I guess you got to put the Commanders up there because the 49ers did what I predicted that they would do. Kai Stradamus strikes again and fell off.
I'm done with the 49ers. That makes you feel better. Struck them off my list.
Yeah, so to me, it's the Eagles, Lions, Commanders, and then you just fit everybody else behind those three. So I honestly would probably put them fifth. I don't even know if I could put them over the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And everybody knows how much I hate the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. But, like, I can't even put them fourth. So, like, maybe fifth or sixth. Yeah. But, like, I don't even consider Tampa Bay a Super Bowl contender. I'm just being respectful to Tampa Bay. But, like, I honestly think that, like, you know, the Cowboys, again, like I said about this time last year, right? If the Cowboys have a great year and everybody else gets injured, or – you know, something happens with the Eagles, something happens with the Lions, something happens with the Commanders, then maybe the Cowboys can make a Super Bowl run this upcoming season. But I think that adding Pickens just gives Dak another weapon, too many running back concerns and too many offensive line concerns with me to really think about that. And plus, I don't really think they have a defense besides Micah Parsons. And I mean, you know, I just think that there's too many question marks with the Cowboys. But I mean, as far as this is a nice little signing on paper, it looks great. You know, we'll see. The biggest question is Dak. And I'm actually kind of surprised the Cowboys didn't get a quarterback. Like, Shedeur was right there. So I don't know why the Cowboys didn't get a quarterback because, like I said, I think Dak has maybe a year or two left with the Cowboys and then he'll be somewhere else. Don't know where that someone else may be. Maybe it'll be San Fran. Maybe it'll be the Jets. Don't really know where that other place is. Oh, I forgot about the Vikings. I don't even put them above the Vikings. So, like, you know, that's why I am with it. I don't think they're a contender yet, but they're like 6th or 7th, depending on where you rank them. But moving right along, got to touch on this already. With the addition of Pickens, are the Cowboys going all in on Dak? Yes. Even though I think it's ill-advised, I think Morgan agrees with me here. I think it's ill-advised to be going all in on Dak. I think what Dak needs is, like, at this point, I think the Cowboys are basically in their 49ers year, right? This is the last year where they can be like, all right, we're going to go in on this old quarterback before they need to start transitioning. Like, I know Tad.
And we all know Jerry has said that he loves Dak and he believes in Dak. And I think a big thing with the Cowboys as well is that Jerry doesn't like to be wrong. I'm sorry, we have Malik Neighbors at wide receiver. Come on. I know that we have one. I know. We have one, Joe Robinson and Malik Neighbors, and we're gonna be fine. And Jackson Dart throwing darts down the field. I hope Russ I do. I believe in I think that this is going to be, we'll get to them in a second. I'll say this real quick.
The comment section is on fire.
I know. For the Giants, the reason I believe in their coaching, and I think this is a big year for Daboll, is because Daboll is a quarterback he's kind of a quarterback guru, right? He believed in Josh Allen and he made Josh Allen who he is. This is his first quarterback for the Giants that he has gotten to draft. He's gotten to scout and he drafted. So I think that this is going to be a big year for him to see what he can pull out of Jackson Dart. Getting back to Jerry, and he has said he believes in Dak. He wants Dak to be the guy. He's all in on Dak. They paid Dak. They did this. Jerry doesn't like to be wrong, so Jerry will spend as much money as he possibly can to try and make Jerry right, if that makes sense. Like even if he right now was like, crap, I don't actually believe in Dak, he's like, we're going to go all in on Dak to prove that I didn't spend my money in the wrong way. And I think that that's what they're trying to do. And I mean, for what it's worth, Jerry wants a Super Bowl now. So I think he's going to do anything he can to get a Super Bowl in the next couple of years. I don't see that happening for the Cowboys, but it's what he's going to try and do.
Yep, I agree. So yeah, we're moving to what, as I said off air to Morgan, like.
No, go. I was just reading it. So does this say more about what the Steelers are doing? A little bit, I think. Yeah, I kind of alluded to it at the beginning where I said that Tomlin gets rid of guys generally at the right time. I think Tomlin probably was sick of his attitude, and I always trust Tomlin. How could you not? He's never had a losing season. I'm not saying they're always going to be fantastic or great, but he's a good coach and his players believe in him. So yeah, I would say that this, I would say maybe a little bit, this means that they might try to be in a slight rebuild, kind of trying to get all the cancers out of the locker room and figure out what they want their identity to be a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I found myself saying this within the last 2 or 3 weeks. Like, what are the Steelers doing? I think that what this is getting all the egos out the room because they're about to add the biggest ego. I know a lot of Steelers fans don't want to hear this, but I think this is the reason why they did not add Shedeur Sanders and they added DK Metcalf. And DK Metcalf, he can also, I know he's dating Normani right now. I know that's breaking news. Some of y'all's mouths are probably on the floor right now because y'all had no idea that him and Normani are dating. But yes, Russell Wilson set him up. Russell and Sierra set them up together, and they are, from what I understand, happily engaged. I don't know. They're not engaged, but y'all know what I mean. But like, yeah, so they did not bring DK Metcalf in as a rebuild. I think what this is Tomlin, as Morgan said, was seeing Antonio Brown levels of diva-ness with George Pickens, and decided to get rid of that before it went to its natural conclusion. Now, just to because I know some Georgia Bulldog fans that are like, Kylan, he's not as crazy as George Pickens. How dare you? Okay. I mean, he's not as crazy as Antonio Brown. I am not judging George Pickens. I do not know that man. All I know is him as a football player. Everything that I hear about him, it sounds like he's a great person. I am not saying that he's as cancerous or as dumb as Antonio Brown in any way. But I just think that Tomlin saw those levels of diva-ness there and decided to cut bait before it was too late. And as far and to
they also probably are trying to have some room on their roster for whatever wide receivers are going to be requested by their incoming quarterback. So
yes. For those of you, that's what me and Morgan are alluding to. Her least favorite person will probably be a Steeler. I know that you Steelers fans
I don't
are
even
upset.
care. At least he's not the Giants quarterback. I don't even care. I kept saying, I said it like multiple times during labor. I was like, Dan, if Madison comes into a world where Aaron Rodgers is the Giants quarterback, I'm going to shove her back into the womb and have her stay there for another year so that she can come out and be happy.
She's going to hit the reset button on pregnancy.
I'm going to say, nope, you're going back. You got to stay in there for a little bit. This is not good. You don't want to be in this world. There's already too many things in this world that aren't good for you coming right into it. What we are alluding to is that there are high rumors that Aaron Rodgers will be the next quarterback of the Steelers. People are now
we are 90% sure he'll be the new quarterback for the Steelers, or he'll wind up.
I would say probably by next Monday he will be the quarterback. A lot of people are saying that they're waiting until the schedule gets announced because his girlfriend or fiance or wife doesn't want him playing night games because his aura is better during the day or something like that, and they're not going to give.
Is he back with Shailene Woodley or Shailene Woodley?
No, it's this new girl. I don't know who it is, but she's into that kind of stuff. I don't know anything about it, but apparently something with the moon. I don't know. So, but they figured that if he waited to sign with the Steelers till after the schedule's released, they wouldn't give them very many primetime games. So who knows? But I would be surprised if he wasn't their quarterback by Monday. And we all know that Rodgers, when he comes, likes to bring people that he likes to work with. So we'll see. And I'm assuming that there's probably going to be people that he requests to bring. So we will update you guys next week on the Aaron Rodgers saga of.
I mean, for Steelers fans who are worried because Morgan and I are agreeing that this is about to happen. I mean, would you rather him be your quarterback or be in the White House working with RFK? Because that's really where that's going.
Kind of the other option at this point, I guess. Yeah.
So that's what it is, man. He's either quarterbacking or working in the White House. So
great. Congrats to all of us. We get to hear about Rodgers for more time because that's what all of us need. So let's move on to the NFL draft. We've kind of talked about it, the big storylines. I didn't think it was that shocking of a draft. I thought besides Shedeur dropping, which was obviously probably the biggest storyline coming out of it, most of the other people
what was the connection with Rodgers and Adams last year?
They're
just good friends, Kyle. That's it.
They played together in
Green Bay.
Green Bay, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. We if you ever want to listen to a really funny somebody break down their connections, head over to Chris Sims Unbuttoned. I don't know what episode last year when they're both on the field together for the first time. Chris has a really funny rant about them playing together and singing songs about him only wanting to throw to his best friend, which is
and I think
jokingly,
they lived together, right?
They did, for a little. I think when he first came, he lived with him for a little while. But the NFL draft, I think we all knew.
Rodgers
it wasn't bad. It wasn't bad. We're not saying it was bad. They we're just saying that Rodgers.
No. He was saying, why was it so bad this past year? And I was saying because Rodgers
can't throw down the field anymore. He only knows how to chuck it 10 yards to the side and make Adams try and throw it down the field.
Father Times is undefeated.
It is absolutely undefeated. So, I mean, I think that a lot of teams are really happy with their drafts. I feel like this is an interesting year where, I think obviously the first surprise was the Jags trading with Cleveland to get Travis Hunter, which I actually think is I think that's going to be really good for them. I said that was the biggest. I didn't see that coming either. But granted, hand up, I was in the complete newborn trenches during pre-draft stuff, so I didn't get to watch or get to know the players as well as I normally do. But that was the first kind of big shock, was them trading up for that. We knew that the Browns were shopping that pick. That had kind of come out, that we knew that they were looking to trade. I did not see it being the Jags coming up to get him, but I like it for the Jags, actually. I think that for what it's worth, it takes the pressure a little bit off of Trevor Lawrence. Not that, him not being the franchise star or whatever. Now he kind of has Travis to lean on when it comes to that, I guess, which is good for him. I think him being out of the limelight will help. We'll see. You know, he just had Trevor Lawrence just had a child. A lot of times players get calmer after they have kids. They, you know, I don't know if it's you realize there are bigger things in life than football, or I don't know exactly what it is, but I'm interested to see the Jags this year. I'm sure they'll be in a ton of primetime games with both of them in there. I love Abdul Carter for the Giants. That's who I wanted them to take. I was really glad. I thought, you know, I didn't want them to take a quarterback there. You know, a lot of people there was rumors back and forth about Shedeur taking Shedeur at 3, but I think kind of by draft week that had been squashed, that Daboll just wasn't a fan of Shedeur. I don't think it was a personal thing. I think it was the style of play.
He loves Jackson Dart. I mean, you know,
he loves Jackson Dart, and
I don't see Josh Allen, but apparently he does.
That's what I was gonna say. I was gonna say he compares him to Josh Allen, the bigger, forceful, runs in, takes hits, kind of guy. And we just did find out yesterday that Jackson Dart was was the second player ever to receive 100% on whatever that.
Oh, the lick thing.
Score. The only other person was Lamar Jackson, I guess. I think that's what it was. I don't know if it was let me rephrase that. I don't know if it was 100%. It said 100. Is it out of 100? Now that I'm thinking that, is that a good score or a bad score?
It probably was the lick. They love talking about the lick and the big. I think he had really big hands. Well, why you do that? My reaction to the NFL draft is I thought the NFL draft was great for the NFC East. You know, I thought the Commanders had a good draft. I thought I thought everybody had a good draft, but the Cowboys. You know, I think to me the most shocking thing was given how much drama there was between Dallas Goedert. Go ahead.
Dart earned a perfect 100% on the Star Predictor score, a test that simulates the potential score of players trying to predict their success while entering the NFL using 15 distinct metrics from various sources.
To me,
he's the only person ever. Lamar and Jalen Hurts both got 99s. Ben Roethlisberger got a 98. Patrick Mahomes, Deshaun Watson both got 96s. Cam Newton got a 95. Kyler Murray got a 93. Josh Allen got a 93. And Drew Brees got a 92.
Okay.
So he's the first player first quarterback in history to receive 100%. So, hey, I'm just saying, we like our quarterbacks from the SEC in New York. So.
Yeah, and I think it was a great draft. I think the Eagles not getting a tight end, I think, was the biggest surprise to me. But they are pretty loaded at tight end, and I guess that just meant that, as we would find out later last week, that Dallas got it and then worked out a deal where they basically gave him a Josh Sweat, and it may end up being a farewell tour, or he may stay in Philly. But what did you
think about the trade, the Eagles trade to go up to swap spots with the Chiefs? Do you think that Howie just got bored and was like, I need some movement?
He tried to trade with the Falcons, but the Falcons wanted too much. I think what that was they wanted Ja'Had Carter, and they wanted to make sure that between KC and whoever was next, I think it was the Cowboys.
It was them. They were next.
Well, they just wanted to be sure that KC didn't get another linebacker, I guess.
Did you hear did you hear the rumors that teams started to block all Philly numbers because they didn't want Howie Roseman to call because they knew if he was calling, he's just so smart.
Yeah.
So who got 100? So Jackson Dart, the quarterback that the Giants drafted, got 100% on this score, this testing metric score that predicts if they're going to be a good quarterback or not. And he's the only quarterback ever to get 100% on it, which is very cool. And makes me excited. Something I haven't been for a Giants quarterback since Eli Manning. We all pretended to be excited about Daniel Jones. We did. We liked him as a person. He had a half of one good season, and that really was because Saquon was on the field as well. This would be exciting. I don't know if he's going to start. I have a feeling they're going to try and start Russell Wilson, which
makes
one
sense.
of my other not favorite quarterbacks because he's just so weird and boring and my hopes too high. Hey, when you're a Giants fan, you gotta have some faith somewhere, right? Like you just have to. You have to. My husband is not. He's not as excited as I am. He's like, they're just so bad, Morgan. But I have some false hope. Last year it just kept getting worse and worse and worse. So I don't know. Brady wasn't in the 90s, so I don't know what his score was. They may have not even done that score that back then, because Rodgers isn't on this list either.
Well, like I said, I think the draft was a great draft. Even for people who don't care about the draft like I did, I think the Eagles had the best draft out of everybody. I think the Eagles had a good draft. The Giants had a good draft. The Chiefs had a good draft. The Raiders actually had a good draft getting Ashton Jensen. Like there were a lot of good drafts out there. But I think I think the draft is the draft. I tell people all the time, the draft is a crapshoot. No one knows anything.
No one knows anything.
I think Shedeur was the best quarterback in this draft class, and moving right along to what y'all really want us to talk about anyway. Shedeur Sanders falls to the 5th round in the NFL draft, and my reaction to this, I'll start here. My reaction to this is, I think that Shedeur Sanders was the best quarterback here. We will get to the prank call, and he's not him, she's not her, they aren't them. At least I will. I can't speak for Morgan. She might want to get to it now. I personally think that Shedeur Sanders is probably the best quarterback in this draft outside of Cam Ward, which we didn't talk about, but Cam Ward is to me the second or the top quarterback. I thought he was the best quarterback all college season, with Shedeur being a close second. I think I was really surprised that Shedeur Sanders did not end up in a Pittsburgh uniform, and I think a lot of that is Aaron Rodgers. I think this was the ghost of Aaron Rodgers. I think that everybody who was saying that Shedeur Sanders' attitude, I look, man, as somebody who has high confidence in myself, I'm never going to knock somebody that has high confidence in themselves. Like somebody who went from the HBCU D1 division to, the Big 12 and dominated that competition. Morgan knows I personally, I like Shedeur, but, I didn't really like the Colorado Buffaloes. I've been on this podcast saying a lot that I like Shedeur, I like Travis, but their talent didn't warrant all that talking that Deion was doing over the last 2 years. And he kept writing checks that eventually they couldn't cash when they lost to BYU. But I think that Shedeur and Travis were like the two superstars. The Buffaloes are going to suffer now without those two talented players. But I think that there are going to be a lot of NFL teams mad at themselves that they didn't take Shedeur Sanders. If you already had a quarterback, that's fine. But if you were a team that had suspect quarterbacking, you should have taken this man. It shouldn't have gone to the 5th round. And I have we got coaches like Bill Belichick and others who aren't coaching anymore and have high confidence in themselves. But as soon as somebody not white has confidence, it's like a whole thing. So I don't really understand it, but it is what it is. We'll get into this in the next question. But to me, I think a lot of teams made a big mistake not drafting him sooner. And now he's in that hellscape, which is with the Cleveland Browns. And hopefully his talent can overcome that. That's what I'm going to say right now before we get to the next question. Go ahead, Morgan.
So I'll kind of go into the next one about my reaction is more as to why it happened. I can't say that I watched a supreme amount of Shedeur. I watched some of his big games, but, I think that nowadays there's so much, and it's if it's fair or not to these players, about attitudes over talent. And I mean, hey, you saw it with, the kid that the Eagles got way down from Georgia, who was in the car accident.
Oh, Carter, Jalen Carter.
Jalen Carter, who people were like, "Oh, I'm not going to draft him. He's not a good person, or he has attitude problems," and he's phenomenal on the Eagles. It's hard. These kids are young. And we don't really know what happened. There's a lot of rumors that are why Shedeur fell, that he came in. He was terrible at interviewing. He didn't have any of the scripts memorized. I don't think any of us will ever know. What I do know is that this is hopefully going to give him a chip on his shoulder, something that I don't necessarily know if he's ever really had. And I think that this actually might be good for him. He might not think that right now. I'm sure he probably doesn't, but having to go out there and prove something, and, you know, I think that's good for him. What my fear for him is that because he's in this weird, like, 4-person run for quarterback, that he's going to be, no, I have to say, I don't know if it has anything to do with him. I mean, the first quarterback drafted overall this year was black. You know, I can't say it doesn't have anything to do with that. I'm probably not the right person to ask about that. That probably would be more up of Kylan's sleeve. I don't know what he thinks about that, but I think it has more to do with him being Deion's son than anything. I think that I don't know what was happening behind closed doors. I said all along, I thought that he would be great in New York because he already is in the spotlight so much that I think he probably would know how to handle it really well. You know, I think he's always been a good kid. I think that it seems like there was a lot of rumors going on behind closed doors, and I don't know if it was that they didn't want him because he didn't perform well in the interviews, but there was other things, like why I don't understand why he chose not to work out at the combine. I don't understand why he chose not to throw. He wasn't the bona fide overall number 1 pick, like Williams was last year, and he was kind of the first one that chose not to throw, right? Last year, Caleb?
Yeah.
Because
his position was assured. So,
and if we're gonna be really honest, like, he played for Colorado and they went 6 and something last year, 7 and something.
Yeah.
And he's competing against quarterbacks that are playing in the SEC and these bigger conferences. I think it's harder. So I don't know. I think there's probably a lot of reasons. I think honestly, and this is not my bias showing, the only team that's kind of come out and pretty much said why they didn't draft him was the Giants, that said, we have liked Jackson Dart all year, that Daboll, and I know Kylan said he didn't agree with this, believes that, Daboll believes that Jackson Dart plays like Josh Allen. That's the kind of quarterback he likes. Shedeur stays back a little bit, isn't as big, isn't as physically solid and as much of a runner as some of the other physical quarterbacks are. I think it was an absolute disgrace that he didn't get drafted before, like Quinn Ewers and things like that. I think that was bizarre. It's kind of like, who was the kid? Was it Will Levis a couple years ago that everybody thought was going to get drafted in the first round and kept dropping and dropping and dropping?
Yep. It was Will Levis.
And it kind of gets to the point where you think a team's going to take him. So what if everybody expected Pittsburgh to take him? Then everybody else had already had their guys. They maybe had not done as much research on Shedeur. So I don't know. I think Kylan's right. I think in 5 years' time, a lot of these teams are going to be kicking themselves that they took X, Y, and Z before they took Shedeur. It's going to be like what the Bears, they always say that they took who instead of Patrick Mahomes. I think that I don't think he ever was a first round talent from how he played last year, but I think he should have been drafted in the 2nd or 3rd round. Kylan, I think you're muted.
My bad, I forgot. Dillon Gabriel, like, to all due respect to Dillon Gabriel, he was one of the best quarterbacks. He beat Ohio State. Like, he was one of the top 4 quarterbacks in the draft. He probably shouldn't have even been a 3rd or 2nd round pick. He probably would have been a 1st round pick if there were more quarterbacks. I think that what this is a combination of a few things. Do I think, because there's a question here about collusion. I definitely think that here's what I think, right? I don't know if it was exact collusion because we don't have evidence, but what I think happened here is sort of like what always happens at the NFL. sometimes you get these teams, and the rumor was the reason why the Browns jumped up was because they had a fear that Howie Roseman was actually going to take Shedeur Sanders. And while I could see that, I don't think he wanted to do that again after what happened with Jalen Hurts' situation when he first got here. Now, Jalen probably would have handled it way better than Carson Wentz handled it, but still, I don't think he wanted that. So I don't really agree with that. But to answer Kyle's question, I think what this was is a combination of somewhat collusion and somewhat of a lot of these teams didn't really need a quarterback, right? Like outside of the Titans, the Browns, the Steelers, like you can count them on one hand how many teams need a quarterback. It's probably like 5 of them, the Giants included, right? Most of these teams didn't really need a quarterback. Now, hindsight being 2020, maybe the Saints should have selected him because while we're just getting the news that Derek Carr retired, they knew that a long time ago. Like, so they're I think what this was a combination of collusion, a combination of hope. It was a combination of a bunch of things. But I definitely agree that did they all come to, not did they all, but did most of these teams just be like, we're going to humble him and give him like that chip that Morgan said? Probably, right? Because they probably were like, he played for Colorado in the Big 12.
And I don't even think it was him. I think it was a lot of Shedeur when Shedeur was like, we're going to do what Eli Manning did. Like, where there's certain teams you refuse to play for, blah, blah, blah. So I don't know. I hope that he's good. I like Shedeur. I like him as a person. I like him as a teammate. I love the way that he supports his brother. I love the way that he has supported Travis Hunter this year. So I hope I think Kyle and you feel similar that we hope that he does well. But like we said, it's a crapshoot.
I just want him out of Cleveland. Like here's what I think. I think his talent is good enough that he will rise to the top no matter what. And now he has a chip on his shoulder. He gets to prove himself. I think that he should have probably at least simulated throws at the combine. But other than that, I think he was right. He should have did a pro day at least if he wasn't going to do the combine.
I think he got some bad advice with some of that stuff. And I think it rubbed owners the wrong way because I think it made people feel like he thought that he was the level of talent that Caleb Williams was last year. I
agree with you, Kyle. Sorry, Morgan, but I
agree.
I think that here's the thing, right? When you think about Shedeur, like a talent like that, people like it is here in Philly and like it is in other places, like the best player on every team is the backup quarterback. And, as we saw with Jalen Hurts here in Philly, like, what I think is I don't think a lot of these quarterbacks have the ego of like a Jalen Hurts or something. Like, I'm going to make it work no matter what. I think a lot of these quarterbacks' hearts pump Kool-Aid. And so Shedeur Sanders is right there behind them. Maybe if you're not Russell Wilson, where you're sure to yourself, you got a Super Bowl ring, it's whatever. Like, but if you're not one of those quarterbacks that's assured, like a Patrick Mahomes or Jalen Hurts or Lamar Jackson, like everybody else's heart pumps Kool-Aid. And I agree with you that there's a lot of teams that should have had and should have picked Shedeur, but a lot of this gets down to ego. Like I think there's a lot of it is
worried about. I mean, they were worried, I think, to have him as a backup. I think that you could kind of say that you saw it in Atlanta last year when they had Kirk Cousins and then they drafted Michael Penix, and everybody was like, why? And then every time Cousins had a bad throw, they were like, put in Penix, which is just not.
And eventually they did,
but that's not a kind of healthy atmosphere for anybody to grow, for Penix to become a great quarterback, or for the starting quarterback to feel comfortable in their job. We will talk about Shedeur more. Like I said, like Kylan says as well, hopefully he gets himself out of Cleveland because they are kind of a mess right now. So Donald, I just almost didn't say his title. President Donald Trump considering executive action on name, image, and likeness. Trump has a lot of things that he's been saying recently about lots of things. Yeah, you want to go?
Here if you want to collect your thoughts. Here's what I think, right? I think that what we have here is a combination of two entities that are very arrogant coming together to try and limit money while also trying to have their cake and eat it too by saying everybody gets money except y'all. So here's what I think, right? I think that a lot of people should be looking at Nick Saban sideways, because while I love him in the Progressive commercial, everything that he does outside of that and outside of his TV appearances is very steak-like to me. And I'm not throwing any aspersions on him, but he's a head football coach that has made billions of dollars staking people and making sure that I don't want to say he lies to people, but I'll say what I always say about a lot of these college coaches. They sell your kids a bag of goods to get them to come to places they would never come to outside of playing sports, just to sit on the bench and wait their turn while he lords over people. It's literally why I hate that story that people have been trying to sell, because anybody that's done reporting, Morgan knows this, I know this, anybody in sports media knows this. Everybody sells this bag of goods that, oh, Jalen just decided to stay in Alabama out of the goodness of his heart. No, the reason why he couldn't leave is because Nick Saban and the SEC, to their credit, they've gotten rid of this rule now. But what it was Nick Saban had this dumb rule where he had to choose where whoever the player was that left Alabama, where they could go, and they couldn't go to an SEC team. So that's why it took Jalen Hurts 2 years to get out from under Nick Saban. Now, he would probably spin it because he's great at PR and won't tell y'all the truth. But this is the truth. Like, Nick Saban prevented that man from going anywhere. That's why he had to stay there and be Tua Tagovailoa's backup. This is why him and Tua don't get along. This is why y'all will never see him and Nick Saban smiling together again, because that's what it is. And for those of you that are wondering, why do you never see Nick Saban and Jalen Hurts together? That's why. So,
Yeah, NIL is such an interesting thing. And I don't know if any of you guys have heard Gino Auriemma's kind of rant about NIL. I agree with Gino on how NIL should be moved forward, but I would like for Donald Trump to focus on
things that matter.
Yeah, it's just a lot of smoke screens. Between that and we're going to reopen Alcatraz, I'm just like, as much as I think the NCAA is inept, let them figure it out. Like, I don't know. I just go back to the Oval Office and fix some things that matter in our country. And I don't know, stop with all the smoke screens and mirrors. NIL is, I think there needs to be contracts. I think that
it's not going anywhere. That's the thing. Like, it's not going anywhere.
I think that's the biggest thing, is that we let it come in, and it's been kind of a mess, if we're going to be really honest, between NIL and the transfer portal. So have there be contracts. If you want to leave, you have to buy out your contract, because coaches have to buy out their contracts, same kind of thing. You come in and you sign something, and there's a buyout clause, and when you can transfer one time and play right away, but if you transfer again, you have to sit for a year, unless your coach leaves. And I think that's kind of how it used to be, but I think you should be able to have one free transfer, still having to buy out your contract, because it is a contract. You are getting paid. You can't just take $1 million from somebody and then peace out. That's not why they're investing in you. They're investing in you to make you the face of the
coaches
program.
Do it all the time. coaches
the coaches have to buy out their contract. That's the difference.
But the other school pays. But that's
fine. The other school wants to pay for the kid to come over. That's fine too. I'm not saying they can't do that. I'm saying that there just needs to be some.
I agree that there needs to be. I not to cut you off. I agree that there needs to be guardrails. I don't want to make it sound like I'm being combative, but Morgan knows how I feel about this. Like, I totally understand Gino's point. He's one of the last old guard coaches still making this work, but he can make it work because all his program does is pump out millionaires and billionaire college coaches, college players, and all the alums that UConn has. Like, you can be a Gino Auriemma and say, yo, NIL is trash, but you got the UConn alumni network to back you up and make sure that I don't know.
UConn, and you got to say UConn is lucky because they no one really cares about their football team. I'll just say it. So they have that advantage that the Big East kind of in total has that advantage that basketball is king there, and none of the schools really have football programs that people care about. So they can pump a lot of money into that. Again, NIL is something we'll be keeping an eye on. This story, we probably will keep an eye on it because I'm sure he'll say something else that we'll have to.
The only thing about this is, like I said, I think, look, this says a lot more about the back room. And look, I respect the coaches like Jim Boeheim. I've talked to him about this at the Syracuse alumni event. Or he talked to us about it. We just had to listen, as Jim Boeheim often does, saying that given that old school coach perspective. And look, I appreciate Gino and them's point. I appreciate Jim Boeheim's point. I appreciate Coach K's point. I like the fact that those three are very open with their opinions, and they're not also backroom dealing like Nick Saban is doing. But what I want to say to these coaches, right? Like, you guys had years. You had the years of ADs. The football coach is always the highest paid state employee, and it doesn't matter what state it is.
It does. Connecticut, it's basketball. Stan Hurley.
But yeah, like it like y'all have had the ears of these ADs for years. You guys knew where this was going. Y'all knew it was not ever going to be like this, where y'all could keep making billions of dollars while these kids couldn't make any money, didn't have the rights that Morgan and I did, where we could leave a school and didn't matter. We could get our money, make money off our name, image, and like this. Y'all know how I feel about this. I don't need to rehash it. But I'm just saying, like, I love the fact that Gino and them want to talk. But the responsibility also comes to these coaches because they were getting these kids to come in knowing what the system was while they all made money. Gino stayed loyal, so he's not the coach that I'm talking about that brings these kids and then leaves. But he didn't help with the system. Like, he kept saying the system needed change. The system got to change. Maybe you should have said there were some guardrails. But all of y'all had that influence at your schools to do this. I don't want to hear that the system's bad now because none of y'all thought this was going to happen. Like, like this what I hearing here is wham, wham, wham. I can't get my way. I can't make these kids come to Stores, Connecticut. I can't make these kids come to Tuscaloosa anymore without paying them, which should have always been the case because everybody else is coming to Stores, Connecticut, getting paid with a scholarship or whatever else. So here's what I'll say to Gino and the rest of them. Start putting, instead of wham about it, and he's from Norristown, so he'll understand what I'm saying. Instead of wham about it, like, put your coaching influence behind a collective bargaining agreement because that's where this is going. Stop crying about it and put your influence where it should be, which is, hey, instead of going to Donald Trump, instead of going to Congress, let's just all sit down. Let's get a players union. Let's get a college union together for all sports. That way you can get your contract. You can get your 2 or 3 free transfers. You can get these coaches to actually stay in their contract and not just go to their dream school while leaving schools like JMU in the lurch while they go to Indiana. Like, you can stop. And y'all want to stop all these problems? Stop crying about it. Stop going on Dan Patrick. Stop going on TNT. Stop going to Donald Trump. Stop crying about it and actually sit your behinds down and work out a collective bargaining agreement.
Yeah,
I
agree. I agree. Right. All right, so moving on to what is on the screen now, the Minnesota Timberwolves versus the Golden State Warriors, Game 4 preview and predictions. This, I feel like, has been a really good playoff series. The games have been, I watched the game, what was it, 2 nights ago? That was like, I swear that was within 3 points the whole game. So, from the outside looking in, don't really know much about it. But the biggest thing I think with this is Steph. Is Steph going to come back? Are the Timberwolves going to be able to make a run if Steph doesn't come back? Can Golden State win without Steph? What do you think?
I mean, they're saying he'll come back in a week but Steph is in his 30s, about to be 40. It's a strained hamstring. He ain't coming back. like
this series or in the playoffs at all?
I don't think he's coming back. I know Shams and them, who have better sources than me, are saying he'll come back, but I think he'll be a shell of himself. Like, anybody who's watched Steph Curry knows his game is running, and anybody as two former basketball players, we can tell you, if you don't have your hamstring, if there's something wrong with your leg, your ankles, or your knees, just sit your behind down. Don't even play. Don't even be a decoy out there. Like, I like Steph. If anybody can recover, it's him. But I just think that in this series, Minnesota is the younger team. Minnesota is the more talented team. And, I know some of the Warriors fans are upset because they would say that they lost because of reffing. I would say that, when you're relying on Draymond Green to be your 20-point scorer along with Jimmy Butler, Father Time's undefeated, along with 34, 35-year-old Jimmy Butler, with all that playoff mileage on him from these Miami years where he was expected to be a number 2, not a number 1. This is what happens. I think that Minnesota will win this series. It'll be a 6 or 7 game series, and we'll see tonight. But I just think that here's what I'm looking at. I'm looking at how does Anthony Edwards' ankle feel. And if Anthony Edwards looks like that guy doesn't settle and attacks the basket, Minnesota will win this game pretty handily. I think that if the Warriors find a way to win tonight, buy themselves a little bit more time, get a tied series, maybe you see Steph game 5, game 6 back in Golden State. But, I know Shams and them are saying that he'll come back. They're giving these Warrior fans hope. Kaiser Davis says that if Steph comes back, it'll just be as a decoy, and it's better if he does not come back.
So I think we kind of talked about Steph here, so we can kind of skip over that. The next one, we can go right to the Pacers. So the Pacers beat Cleveland to take a 3-1 series lead. I have not watched a second of this series, so I'm gonna leave this to Kylan. Kylan, what are we thinking? Do you think that there's any chance that the Cavs come back, or do you think that the Pacers are going to take it running?
I think the Pacers, we got another 2 games. I think Cleveland will win this upcoming tomorrow probably. But I just think the Pacers are just too much for the Cavs. I think the Cavs are injured. The injuries are coming back to bite them. And I just think that the Pacers are playing inspired basketball. The Pacers ceiling is like an ECF, which it seems like they'll be back to before they didn't get got by Boston. So I think that this is like, to have no shame in it, Cavaliers fans, right? Like, injuries happen, and I think that the Pacers are just really good. They're playing inspired basketball. Carlisle has them looking dynamic, and there'll be a problem between the Knicks and the Celtics for whoever wins that one.
So do you think that the Cavs are just not as good as everybody thought they were?
No, I think they are that good. I just think that the injury's undefeated. Like, Darius Garland has a toe. There's a bunch of their players that are injured, and that's like the majority of this. Cleveland is the more talented team, but they're not healthy enough. Like, Donovan Mitchell is dropping like 40 a night, but he can't overcome the fact that his team is just so injured. So I think that with another year, Cleveland will be back, probably in the ECF, but we'll see. I just think that it looks like Cleveland has blown it, but hey, if anybody, we could be talking next week and this series could be tied 3-3. So if anybody can overcome it, it's Cleveland, but I don't see it. Now to the series I really want to talk about. The Knicks versus the Celtics. So here's what I'll say to this, man. I kind of alluded to this earlier. Like, the Celtics really should be up 3-1, but because they were so dumb in the first 2 games of this series and forgot how to play basketball, like they are like, they are 2-1, and they're like a Jalen Brunson like masterpiece away from being down 3-1. Now, I don't think that'll happen. If there's any game where that might happen, it'll be tonight, but I doubt it'll happen. The Knicks are about to choke this whole thing away. Let me tell you why. Let me tell you what I knew was over for the Knicks. When I was watching all these New York television series like the Today Show and all these other places, everybody's like, blue and orange skies all day. I was like, and they were making predictions. I was like, I feel the choke job coming. So like, here's what I'll say, man. I'll say this: the Knicks are a great team, but they relied on two improbable things. They were able to come back from a 20-point lead because the Celtics forgot how to play basketball, and Mikal Bridges went off. Now, what happened last game was the Celtics went off, and Mikal Bridges, they made sure that he did not play. They inserted Kristaps Porzingis into the starting lineup, what they should have been did. I tell you, Morgan, if these coaches would just watch this show, they would go undefeated. Hire me as your basketball communications person or your football person or Morgan, and we'll help you get to a Super Bowl and get places, because all they really need to do is listen to this show. All Mazzulla needs to do, listen to this show. Put Porzingis in, put Drew Holiday on Jalen Brunson to bug him all day, put Tatum or Brown on Mikal Bridges, wear him out, and you won't have to worry about it. So I still say Celtics in 6. It was Celtics in 5, but the Celtics in 6. We'll see what happens tonight. But I'm of the mindset that the Celtics need to have this game. The Knicks don't. The Knicks were kind of talking about how they got a little too cocky. So we'll see tonight. We'll see tonight. But we'll see what happens with this. But to another one, the OKC Thunder survived against the Denver Nuggets yesterday to tie the series. My reaction to this is that the Thunder are the better team. They're the younger team. They wanted the Nuggets. The Nuggets had a chance to really kill the Thunder, and they just couldn't do it because because when you have to rely on Jokic and Murray and Gordon to hit threes when it matters, it doesn't happen. I'm of the mindset that the Thunder should be able to win this series, and had it not been for two fluky missed free throws by Chet Holmgren, it's 3-1, 3-2, and then this series is going the way it should go, which is Thunder in 6. But the Nuggets still have a chance. They have Nikola Jokic, and I'm of the mindset that you just have to do something, and that's just where I am with it. Like the Thunder, the playoffs, the NBA playoffs is where talent rises to the top. The Thunder are the more talented team. They should win this series going away in 6 games. And if the Nuggets find some way to win, it's because there's a Jokic and Murray masterclass that happens that they just had no answer for. But the Thunder are the younger, more aggressive team, and they should win this series. Yeah.
Yeah, so let's talk about these playoffs as a whole. I have seen more people talking about them. I've tuned into some of them. Either the games have been close, there's been giant comebacks. It feels like you can't turn it off, no matter how ahead somebody is. Maybe 41 points is a little bit of a steep hill to climb, but for the most part, it's been super, super interesting, and people have felt like they have to tune in and can't turn it off.
Mm-hmm. I think this is what happens when everybody knows there's a new deal coming, and they don't have to deal with Charles Barkley and Shaquille O'Neal much longer anymore. I think that these playoffs have been great. Y'all know I was going to throw in that WB shot. I think that the playoffs have been great. I think this is one of the greatest playoffs I've ever witnessed myself. And it's great because the Sixers aren't in it, so I don't have to feel like I'm dying every time there's a shot that makes it or doesn't make it. And I'm of the mindset that I think that this is the best playoffs ever. I think it's good. I think you got the young up-and-coming teams, the old guards still trying to hang on. But I think it's good. You got Cleveland in there. You got the Thunder. You got the Nuggets. I think it's a great time. And I think that, this is the NBA for the next few years. Everybody saying the product was dead, are overreacting because the NBA is a great league and a progressive league, and they don't like it. Kyle was saying best playoffs since early 2000s. RC is saying best playoffs in a while. I think so. Let's get to what Morgan really wants to talk about and brag about. So I got
to talk about this, and I got to hop off. My baby is stirring. She is about to open up and just start screaming because she's so hungry. But UConn Huskies, they're back on top of the women's college basketball. Paige gets her championship. It was incredible. talk about a great moment in college basketball moments when Paige came off the floor in that championship and gave Gino a hug. Can't be beat. You know, they have been just plagued with injuries and bad calls and bad luck and poor performance the last 6-7 years. It's really exciting to see them get number 11. You know, and for Paige, who has done so much for not only women's basketball, for UConn basketball, for Source, Connecticut. It's incredible. And then to see her be able to get drafted number 1 a few days later is incredible. And the stuff that she's already doing in the W, I mean, 41 points, 15 assists, 16 rebounds, something crazy like that. I mean, she's incredible. And she's a superstar already. And I'm just happy for her. There's not a better person to be happy for. You know, that team is electric. They're unbelievable. You know, everybody showed up when they needed to. AZ was lights out from the 3-point line. Sarah Strong is just absolutely a monster on the court. It's exciting. You know, oh, you hear her? I don't know if I'm a Wings fan, but I'm definitely a Paige fan. I'll follow her wherever. So yes, as of now, I am a Wings fan. I like the new hairstyle. She's getting away from the braid. I believe it was one of her teammates at UConn that used to braid it for her. So she's got that slicked back pony now. She's still hysterical with the media. I saw an interview today where she talked about getting a dog. And did you see this? Or she couldn't get a dog because she would be the dog would grow up in an unstable home because she has 2 weeks of away games to start the season out. You know, big thing for her is I pray that she stays healthy. It's a long season. And, you know, we just want her to stay healthy. The draft was great. It's fun to see. You know, I think Chicago, they're going to be good. I'm happy to see Cam Brink is back. So it'll be fun. It's going to be a really fun season. I'm excited for all that we got. The Wizards, I have just no faith in still. I just don't. You know, at least they didn't draft what's her face, that the center. She went undrafted because of her off the court stuff, but I was afraid that they were going to do something stupid and draft her. What is her? You know what I'm talking about?
Nope.
She played at like Oregon, then TCU.
Oh, you talking about Sonona Prince?
Yeah, Sonona. Good player, but we don't need any of that. So this has been so much fun. I'm so glad to be back. I don't even have it. He's not him, she's not her. So, but I'm sure Kylan does. So he will stay on here with you guys for a few minutes and give his takes on Florida winning and some of the other stuff. But if I don't go, you're about to hear some screams real soon. So bye, guys. I will see you next week. And enjoy the playoff series. Go Caps. And we'll see what happens. Bye, guys.
See you, Morgan. Yeah, RZ, you missed that earlier. But yeah, Giannis is open to trading. We'll see. I got him either going to Boston, even though I hate that. Boston, Brooklyn, or maybe Houston. I would love to say the Sixers, but I doubt they can make that happen. But on the UConn part, I thought that was really good. For UConn. I like the UConn women. I'm a UConn women's b-ball fan. So I like that for Paige. I like that for Ozzy. I think that South Carolina team was kind of like more top heavy than anything else. So and you kind of saw that during the game, and UConn wanted their revenge, and they got it. They got their revenge game because they lost to them in the championship game, and they got their revenge. And basically, 2025 is like the year of revenge. So if you beat a team before a few years ago, you're probably going to lose the rematch if it's this year in the championship game. So that's where I am. It's a great time for UConn. College basketball is always better when UConn's up. So it's very good when the UConn women are up. As far as the Gators, I mean, this is more of an improbable national title win. Like I fully thought Houston had that game. And you're just glad they beat South Carolina. I fully thought they had that game, and the Texans, the Cougars just folded under pressure, and Florida, being the cardiac Gators that they were able to win their first national title since Joakim Noah was playing for them. So, congrats to the Gators. Every college basketball is better when the Florida Gators are up. I don't expect them to be a national powerhouse outside of this year. I think it was the perfect kind of like down year in men's college basketball that a team like Florida could take advantage of it. And that's just what happened. I think the Gators deserve their win. Congratulations to them. I hope they continue to do well. We'll see, though. Trey's a big Florida Gators fan. For those of you that wondering who the big Florida Gators pusher is, he's probably mad that he missed this. But this weekend coming up is the WNBA opening weekend. You'll get to see Paige in a Dallas uniform for real this time instead of just in a preseason. See the new look Indiana Fever. I think the Indiana Fever will be a team to watch, especially now that them and Connecticut basically traded coaches, and they're basically like the Connecticut Fever. Morgan's gone, so she doesn't have a chance to talk about this, but I think the Fever might be more dangerous this year because Caitlin Clark actually had a chance to rest. And I think they'll be good this year. I don't know if they'll be a championship contender, but I think that they will make some noise. I think Paige and Paige and who plays for Dallas? Oh, man, from Notre Dame. But Paige, that backcourt with her and the other girl is going to be great because she plays for the Wings as well. The Cooper Flag. There's Ace Bailey and a couple of others, Kyle. It's only like 3 or 4. Like there's some big names. There's only like 3 or 4 like franchise cornerstones. But yeah, as far as it's going to be interesting to see what the Wings look like. I think the Wings will be sneaky for a lot of people. The Storm should be good again. The Storm kind of fell off, so they'll probably be a top 10 team. The Liberty, can they defend their title? It's going to be a big weekend, and I think that a lot of y'all should tune in to some WNBA games. It'll be up this weekend. If they shouldn't, I don't think they'll overlap with some NBA playoff games. The NBA playoffs should be later, but we'll see. I think this is going to be a big weekend, a big time, like Paige's debut weekend. So this will be a good weekend for that. So yeah, on to the shout out segment. But before we get there, I do want to talk about how big of a week this is. I mean, for those of you that are Sixers fans that listen to me, May 12th, 2019 will be a day that forever lives in infamy because that was the Kawhi Leonard shot. And now it's May 12th, 2025. And even though a lot of people didn't think the Sixers would be here, they have a chance to not only add to what they have and having Joel Embiid and Tyrese Maxey, but adding another franchise cornerstone, depending on what pick they get. They needed to be in the top 6. As long as it's not 7, they won't lose it to OKC and give OKC another cornerstone. But it's funny because I think this is where the Sixers can become the Thunder here, where they can draft somebody who will be up and coming, be able to learn from Embiid and Maxey. A lot of people hope that's Cooper Flag. I don't know. I'm good with Edgecombe. I'm good with a lot of other players. But some people wanted to be Cooper Flag to have that power forward and have Gershon come off the bench. I'm more of a player. I'm more of a person that I think the Sixers just need another small forward or PF who can play a small forward position, another game changer and a playmaker. And if that's Cooper Flag, if that's Derek Prince, I don't really know who that is, but that's who I think they need. So that's what I'm hoping for, and we'll see. So May 12th, 2025 can change depending on what happens tonight at 7 p.m. And no matter what happens, I will be tweeting about it and probably writing an article about it on WatsonSports6.com. So definitely check that out. But to our shout-out segment, I definitely want to shout out all the mothers. I know yesterday was Mother's Day, so shout out to all the mothers here. My mother, Morgan's mother, and her mother-in-law. Shouts out to all the mothers and the mother figures, for those of you who's mother, grandmother may not be here anymore. Shout out to all the mother figures, the spiritual mothers, the godmothers. All of you are a mother. Shouts out to you. I'm not going to get into that whole pet mom debate. That was a big thing here in Philly because a sports radio personality jumped into that. I'm not going to get into that today. But those of you that know me know how I feel about, I think pets are great, but I don't think just because you're a parent of a pet, that means that you get to get in on Mother's Day or Father's Day. So let me just say it like that. And leave it at that before the pet parents come for me. It's not over yet, RC, but yeah, thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you for having Kyle with that. Thank you, man. Thank you both for tuning in. Thank you all for both of you keeping the comment section lively. I think this is the most lively comment section we've had in a while. But for my shout out segment, I want to shout out the NBA playoffs because the NBA playoffs are great. They have been great. They kept, even as somebody whose team they cover and a fan they are, and a fan of basketball in general. The pet parent thing. Yeah. Thanks, Kyle, for agreeing with me. But yeah, like I am of the mindset that this has been the greatest NBA playoffs that I've seen in a long time as a big basketball and NBA head. I want to shout out. I think I shouted out the moms. I shouted out the NBA. Yeah. I got you, Kyle, about pets. Yep, I got you. I just want to shout out that. Shouts out to the UConn Huskies, the Florida Gators. Shout out to I think it was Oklahoma that won the gymnastics chip. I think the cheerleading stuff just also got names. So shouts out to those winners as well. There's just been a lot going on in the weeks that we've been off. Too many people to shout out. So shouts out to everybody doing their thing. Congratulations to the class of 2025, at least the college graduates who are graduating right now. Shouts out to you for your hard work, whether that was a bachelor's, an associate's, a master's, a JD, an MD, or whatever else you get, an MDiv for you preachers out there. Whatever you got, congratulations, even if it was a high school diploma or a pre-K diploma, congratulations. Yes. And so we go to he's not him, she's not her, and they aren't them. I really had multiple, but I think the one that I want to go into is the Falcon coach's kid. So my he's not him, Jackson Ulbrich. What are you doing, dog? like now, granted, a lot of the current who are football players now, current draftees, they got prank calls, but you called Shedeur Sanders and you recorded yourself doing it. Now, look, I don't want to throw any more shade on Gen Z and Gen A because people get it confused. It's Gen Z, Gen Alpha. I believe he's a late Gen Alpha. So like those are the people who are like 2010 to 2024. I'm sorry, late Gen Z. But I don't want to throw all shade on Gen Z because Gen Z gets enough shade. But what were you doing, dog? You prank called Shedeur Sanders, you and your frat buddy. You got it off a tablet. Your dad's tablet. You cost your dad $210,000. I think it was $75,000, and the whole team had to pay $210,000. You cost your dad a lot of money, reputation. He may or may not have his job after this season, and you embarrass the league. And we know the one thing that the NFL doesn't stand for is being embarrassed, especially by coaches' kids who shouldn't have access to this information. And I tweeted about this and put it on Facebook too. Like, those of you parents that work in high security, high stakes, confidential jobs, whether that's in sports, whether that's in government, do better with keeping your devices locked. Because why is your kid just accidentally seeing this stuff, putting the number down, and then being like it's a mistake? No, that's not a mistake, dog. You planned that, right? I'm sure you and your boy got together. Y'all was like, oh, let's call Shedeur, right? You faked it like he was going to do it. And so that was bad enough, but then you recorded yourself doing it. The Falcons had to facilitate the whole thing, and then you look like a jerk because you're ruining his moment. It's already bad. You done made it worse and made yourself look bad. So he's not him, the Jackson Ulbrich, just for being terribly stupid, an idiot. For those that don't know, he was the guy, the coach's kid who prank called Shedeur. And then on top of that, Morgan's not here, but then you had the GMs. A lot of people thought because it was Ole Miss, University of Mississippi, that it was one of the GM of the Giants, Gettleman's daughter, and it wasn't her. So there were people like going to Instagram and Twitter. So not only do you owe Shador an apology, you owe her an apology because she was catching all the smoke because the Twitter and Facebook conspiracy theorists thought it was her when she was actually being a responsible kid and not spying on what her parents were doing, what her dad was doing, and saving the information and trying to prank call people. She was being responsible, doing what college kids do around this time, doing whatever she was doing. But she was catching smoke on Instagram to the point where she had to lock her comments. Y'all need to be better. Like, just because something happened at the University of Mississippi does not mean that somebody else's kid who had nothing to do with it, and y'all being internet detectives trying to figure this out, and it turns out to be someone else y'all wasn't even thinking about. So a lot of people owe her an apology. I'm not one of them, but a lot of y'all owe her an apology for jumping on her Instagram, making it seem like it was her that was prank calling Shador, and it turned out to be a white dude. So leave her alone. And that's why he's not him. Ulbrich for just causing his dad and the Falcons unneeded pain, and obviously Shador unneeded pain. So yeah, that's the show. That's my He's Not Him. Thank you all for tuning in. An hour and 40 and change. So thank you all for tuning in. We're back. Going to be back more consistently now that Morgan's schedule is settled. My schedule has not, but we'll figure it out. Yeah, so thank you all for tuning in. Definitely check out the PhiladelphiaTribune.com for my more newsy pieces. Check out Watson Sports Takes for the sports content. Obviously, this podcast. Follow us on Twitter or X or on the gram or anything else. Just Google us. But follow us on Twitter. Morgan is at M_Indy_Miller. As you said earlier, that might change, but this will always still be Sports Hour Plus for Miller and Watson. And I am at Kyler W. Watson. So definitely follow us. Let us know. Have a great day. Thank you all for tuning in. Thank you, Kyle and RC for keeping the comment section lively. Definitely join them. This was a great lively comment section, probably the livest comment section we've had since we started the show. So thank you, Kyle and RC, for that. And y'all have a good day. Stay easy. Have a great week. May 12th. Enjoy it. If you're on the East Coast up here in Philly, enjoy that 80+ degree day. Get on outside after work, after class, after finals, whatever you're doing. Enjoy the day and make the most out of it. Deuces.